Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to 2022. This is, I'm starting things over again, so yes, when you look at this, it's Season 1, Episode 2 of At the Table with your host, Kelly Lincoln. This is also called the 523 Happy Hour. And any background noise that you hear, let me see if I got my ducking on. Why, yes, I've got my auto ducking on. Is because I'm like usual, I'm coming to you live from the corner of Lexington Avenue and East 87th Street here in New York City on my lunch break, which, weekend work, I love it. I want to wish everybody a happy, healthy New Year, and I know it was a stressful 2021, and hoping that everybody here has a unstressful or less stressful 2022. And so there it is. What to talk about today? I was in a clubhouse. I really enjoy Clubhouse because there's some topics that get discussed that you stumble upon. And the room I was in was discussing transgender versus transracial, and it was mind-blowing to hear how many people are totally unaware of what trans men and women go through during their transition time, the hormones that they have to take, everything that they have to do, reconfiguring their lives, and emotionally and psychologically, physically, and it was an eye-opener. I'm old enough to remember such Christine Jorgensen, who, after she got out of the Army, had to go after years of therapy, in order for her to get her transitional surgery, had to fly to Sweden, where it was exorbitantly expensive, and she became a well-known spokesperson. She did this, and at that moment in history, being transgender, at that time it was called transsexual, was not a big deal. She had a nightclub career. She did the rounds of the talk shows, and it was just accepted. It was not a moment of, oh my God, and we need to adjust to this. She just was. And it's kind of interesting to me to see my peers and their children and some of their children having a very difficult time wrapping their heads around the idea of transgendered men and women. Especially since trans people have been with us all the time. And to suddenly have your peers flip out about it, it's like, I don't get this. You don't need, some people, I will say some people do need the time to adjust psychologically to the visibility of trans men and women. Just like they need to wrap their heads around and adjust to the visibility of the LGBTQA community. It's because it's been hidden for so long. It's been out of sight, out of mind, so to speak. And that isn't healthy for anybody. It's kind of like, being, it's on the order of children to be seen and not heard. You can be who you are, but don't speak about it. You speak about it, oh my God. That is the most horrible thing in the world for people to know about, to be open about it.
Let's see what we can get.
And that brings it to a level of, in my opinion, misunderstanding. You don't understand the struggle because it's not your struggle. I cannot put myself into this struggle that a non-demographically white person has, because I am not black, I am not brown, I am not Asian. The only way I can empathize with their position is to recall how terribly I was treated as a Jewish person who is only white by the grace of the United States Census in order to protect the 1%. I am still not perceived as white, especially when times get bad. But other than that, I can be white for certain purposes. But I have never experienced the physical hatred and the name calling of a black, brown, or Asian person. I have experienced it as a Jewish person. I have been called Christ killer. I have been told Jews, Hitler should have finished the job. Hitler had the right idea. I was physically assaulted, verbally assaulted, and that makes me more aware of what my brothers and sisters go through. Hillel said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if not now, when? And that means we have to look out. We cannot affect change until we can affect change in ourselves. And that is like the toughest thing to do, because we always perceive change as a death, which it is. For example, I'm a diabetic. I am 40 pounds overweight. And trying to lose weight is really difficult because my body is going, no, I like being 166 pounds and diabetic. And if I lose these 40 pounds, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be warm in the wintertime when it's 27 degrees outside and my body fat helps keep me warm. But on a health level, I have to do it. And I know that the more resistance I get, the more that I'm doing it right. But one of the things I find rather distressing is people waiting around for their Gandhi or their next mark. You have to affect the change yourself. You cannot, if you're waiting for somebody to come around to help you to lead, then you are always going to stay where you are. Become the leader you want somebody else to be. Look to the great civil rights, human rights leaders as examples and role models as to how you lead and how you effect change. You don't have to be a Gandhi. Just one small act can affect change. One act of kindness, one act of standing up, one act of getting involved can affect change. It may not be immediately apparent, but it will affect change. It will affect how things are perceived. It will affect how you are perceived and how you perceive your world and the world around you. And yes, like as I said, I'm sitting outside talking, so it's going to be noisy as I'm also eating my lunch. So there will be dead air while Kelly is slurping vegetarian barley soup, drinking coffee, and staring longingly at the cucumber, tomato, and dill salad. Do you write satire? Write something that will make people think, make people want to get active. Writing comedy theater should be uncomfortable because it is in those arts that you can say what you want to say, but otherwise might get you into trouble because you can put those words into the mouths of character. Examples in the Barber of Seville, the play, not the opera. Figaro comes out and does this very long speech when it boils down to just saying it's like 4 pages long, and just boils down to the only difference between me and the Count is the Count was born with money. But he couldn't come out and actually say that. The author of the play could not himself say that, so he had to put it into the mouth of one of his characters where it was removed from everything. During the McCarthy era, the Crucible couldn't come directly out and call out Joseph McCarthy for the witch hunt hysterics, which he had to do it in a play. The Crucible is about false accusations and how it ruins people. And while it is based on a historical incident, it is a metaphor for the McCarthy era, where all you have, if you were mad at somebody, all you had to do to ruin them was accuse them of being a communist. And they were done. And we have that a lot today, like, oh, they're not Republican enough, they're not this enough, they're not that enough. Especially in the Republican Party today, if they call you out as not being loyal enough, and you're a politician, your career is essentially over. And so to my Republican friends who may be listening to this, what are you doing to affect change within your party? Are you standing up to them? Are you working towards getting rid of these crazy people, these people that want to turn this Republican democracy into an authoritarian state, where if you don't toe their line, you have no rights, no protections. And this is, while I'm going into this, is the same sort of thing. If you take a look at what's going on in various states, if you are not of the proper party, the GOP, you are losing your rights to vote, to gather. They want to criminalize protesting Black Lives Matter. They want to criminalize voting by mail. They want to make sure that people of color have to stand in lines for hours without water, without bathroom breaks. And if you give somebody water, you can get arrested. And it's only we can vote. And what we were witnessing in that context is the the dismantling of Reconstruction 2.0. And we cannot permit that to happen. We have to do more than tweet and wring our hands at our keyboard and donate money. We have to get out and show up and protest and actually contact via email, via phone, via snail mail letter to our elected representatives, urging them to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, to protect voter integrity, to mail-in voting. I mean, we just sit around and we're the keyboard warriors that we mocked under Bush. What are you doing to get out and effect a positive change? Oh, that's beautiful. Now, if only you could find a way to keep that.
Yeah.
A young lady just was breaking off an icicle and walked off with not just an icicle, but 3 of them and the frosty ice it was clinging to. But we have to become more visible. We have to be more visible if we want to see elections after 2020. We have to be aware of our surroundings and what is around us. And because often, and this is just as a general thing, and not just politically, we have to take our blinders off. we are so accustomed to the 1 hour crime shows, the procedural dramas, that when things don't happen exactly in an hour's time, or actually 25 minutes excluding commercial breaks, then we get impatient. We need to be patient with the way the justice system works. Our legal system is not the defenders, or Chicago PD, or the FBI, or Hawaii 5, Law and Order, any of these crime procedural shows. They're not even 48 hours, because 48 hours only talks about the investigations. You know, how little time, the initial investigation, you know. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but you want to make sure that the people that are being investigated and hopefully arrested, tried, and convicted are actually the people that committed the crimes. Now, we know that the former guy has been rather out front with his criming. But we are in a peculiar situation here in that we have never arrested and tried a former president. And a lot of people, especially here in New York, wonder why the former guy, the former president, was never arrested, tried, and convicted for the money laundering and all the shady stuff that he was involved with here in New York. And that's because the rumor has it, and again, this is merely a rumor, that the reason he was never arrested, tried, and convicted is that because he himself is a snitch. And considering all things, that would not surprise me in the least if it were true. We know he was fined for money laundering through his casinos in Atlantic City. And the reason his casinos in Atlantic City failed is because smart casino owners don't compete against themselves. But he was not and is not a smart businessman. So he opened the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. Then he thought it'd be an awesome idea to open 2 more casinos on the boardwalk, which he did, and that is why his Taj went bankrupt. His casinos went bankrupt because they were competing against each other. So there, So I wish I could use sound effects, but the Spreaker app that I'm using to broadcast this is devoid. It's I can't import anything unless it's in my iTunes, which is really fucking annoying. And all my sound effects, anyway, are living on my computer at home. And I know I'm swerving from one topic to another, but that's me and my attention deficits, which I love. I love my attention deficits. It's actually really cold here in New York. And again, I'm sitting outside and the heaters are on, but it's not really working. And it is currently 28 degrees, and it probably feels like, I don't know, colder? And, and moving on, trying to move on from that. Between Friday night, between New Year's Eve and yesterday, we lost some really amazing human beings in the theater. Betty White, who not only championed causes for animals, but she also championed LGBTQA+ rights as well. And as somebody said in my Twitter feed, we should all aspire to be a Betty White. And we lost director Peter Bogdanovich, and just yesterday we lost Sidney Poitier, who was just a remarkable actor and human being, and his star will always be shining. And to quote Harlan Ellison in The Paladin of the Lost Tower, it's a paraphrase, as long as we remember, they are not truly dead. That's actually a great short story if you want to read it, called The Paladin of the Lost Tower. It was a Twilight Zone episode, and it was one of the last things that Danny Kaye acted in. And there's another really good actor that was in it. His name was Glenn Thurman, and he's still around in acting, so check them out. Check him out. He's quite a remarkable actor himself. And most people will remember Mr. Poitier from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and To Sir with Love. But I also remember watching The Lilies of the Field, which won him an Oscar. And in the heat of the night, and just the dignity of this man and his remarkable talent is always going to be with us. Just as the movies of Peter Bogdanovich will always be with us. He wrote, he directed What's Up, Doc? Oh my God, I can't remember any of the films that he directed. And I think today a lot of people dismiss the films and the music of the past, and I think that's a mistake. For while the movies of the past, especially the period pieces, well, they're all period pieces to the extent give us a beautified view of what life was like. We can take a look at films. Those are like the screwball comedies, but we can take a look at films that aren't as light and fluffy. And we have to know our past in order to not relive it, repeat it, to see what we did incorrectly and how we can make sure we don't make those mistakes again. And we have to also understand that people make mistakes. They learn from those mistakes, hopefully, and they don't repeat them again. And to dig into somebody's past to wreck them because you disagree with what they say and you want to wreck them is not right. They moved on, they grew. But then again, those that continue on their path of self-destruction by refusing to admit their wrongs and work to atone for them, be my guest. I'm not that empathetic to people's issues. And why do I say that? Because there are still too many people around the world, America, that are saying you're not the bosses now. They all decided because the former president has adult oppositional defiant disorder that everybody else can be like that now too. They can be little brats who are throwing tantrums because it snaps them at bedtime or they want their snacks. And my way of dealing with them is let them throw their tantrums. I have stopped, I know that when they're on Twitter posting their stuff they're posting their crap because they know it's going to get retweeted wide and far by us because that's what they do. They know what will trigger a liberal or progressive or Democrat or sane person's buttons. And we will retweet saying, did you see what this person wrote? I won't amplify it. Or if I decide to amplify it, I'll do a screenshot so they can't go back and look at the thread, so they don't get the tweets, they don't get the looks, the comments. And if it's enough, I will just mute them. I did a lot of muting on my Twitter account. And it's a lot shorter because there's just things I don't want to see continually in my, because there's no new information. Because usually it's a retweet of somebody else's retweet. It's like, and I prefer muting to blocking because I can control what I see in my timeline. And if I want to see somebody's tweets, I'll unmute them, which I will probably do because there's some people that I do follow that I want to see if they've moved on from or caused me to mute them. And then there are the mystery blocks in threads. I don't know who blocked me. I don't know why they blocked me. I wish the people who blocked me would tell me why they blocked me. Who are you? Why did you block me? Am I still on a blocked list? Probably. So there, so it's all a matter of perception. And rolling back to this clubhouse on transgender versus transracial, and I agree, you cannot. Race is a 19th century construct. German, of course. Is color and was a thing. You can find it in Shakespeare's in Othello, and how people are Titus Andronicus, where and how hair color was perceived in Elizabethan times as to one's attractiveness, and also how suntanning was perceived at that time. It was the 1920s when Coco Chanel decided having tanned skin was now a sign of leisure rather than of work. If you had tanned skin, you were a manual labor. You worked outside. You were exposed to the sun. English, Scottish, Irish traditional song will talk about this. Song of Solomon talks about the daughter, of Lebanon. Her brothers were jealous of her, so they set her out to, shepherd, and her skin got dark because she was forced to be outside and expose her skin to the sun. But that did, and that's only about skin color. It has nothing to do with race or anything like that. As I said, race is a 19th century European construct. Yes, we can talk about, white privilege and all of that and go back to how the founding fathers, talked about whiteness, but it had more to do with nothing more than property. You were white if you were British, you were white.
No, I don't.
And it was America, American at that time, I would say, began the concept of race. But it was, again, the 19th century Germans that actually codified it. They were the same ones that decided Jew hate was less scientific than saying anti-Semitism. Again, thank you, Germany, and Torah teaches us that there are 6 genders. There is a rabbi that I follow on Twitter who has a Substack that I am subscribed to, and she talks about Joseph and points at the little things that points to his not being a straight cishet male. The coat of many colors, for instance. The fact that he wasn't at all attracted to it when he was in Pharaoh's court, that he wasn't really attracted to any of the women. go back and read the story of Joseph. And again, gender is a construct. I've often said, I don't care what bathroom you use, just lock the door and flush. Oh, and wash your hands. Those are the only 3 things I care about. But I cannot, because it's talking about respecting yourself, respecting other people. And we have to, if you don't respect yourself, as the song goes, if you can't respect yourself, you can't respect anybody else. If you don't like yourself, you can't like anybody else. If you can't do for yourself, you can't do for anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's a lighter
that's why we need to step back from all of this stress-related nonsense. And it really is nonsense. And we're all stressed out over the plague and the fact that there are those that are refusing to do their civic obligations to stop it, because hey, it's owning the libs when we get sick, get hospitalized, and and die, and take up a bed from somebody who needs it more than we do. And then I forget what state it is, but they've gone to emergency decisions like if you get COVID and you've got all these symptoms, they may not transport you or provide you there. That's going to let you die. So at least one Republican-governed state, has a death panel.
Yeah, I don't know. Denver's been pretty busy, actually. I mean, they got a little slower before Christmas because of the COVID thing. It's a little weird right now again, but...
And these aren't the same individuals that want to bring measles back and the chicken pox. They want to bring back all the childhood diseases that they were fortunate enough to never encounter because of vaccines, and that their parents never encountered because of vaccines. But their grandparents, I had chicken pox, I've had the mumps, I've had the measles. Fortunately, I never had polio nor tuberculosis, but my grandmother did. And I find it unfathomable that there are people calling vaccines satanic. Well, that means all medicine is satanic. And that means the God of this world, as some believe, is a Satan, the adversary. So, what do you think all about that? It is about time for me to return back to an empty day at work. I will be speaking with you later tonight. Join me and Ricky tonight at midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific, and 1 a.m. Atlantic Time for the late night morning talk show with Kelly and Ricky here on netrootsradio.com. TTFN, and stay warm, stay hydrated, and if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. Think about somebody else besides yourself, your friends, your family, your children, since right now the Omicron variation is the one that's hitting kids the most. And do your civic obligations, folks. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Take care and stay warm.